What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of I Am Negan, the TWD Universe podcast. My name is Adam Vale. I am senior editor over at the Koalition.com, and I'm joined by editor-in-chief Richard Bailey Jr. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
And Throwdown Shows Carlos Romero. What's up, Carlos?
Yo, what's going on?
People, this has been a crazy hour and a half. So my Blue Yeti mic had an update, did the update, and it screwed up all the OBS settings and all my other settings, and we just spent this whole time just trying to get audio. Then I heard them, they didn't hear me, then I didn't hear them, and then it was a mess. It was a mess. But I wasn't the only one that was a mess, because AMC Plus was a mess. Oh, what happened to this episode? This variant episode, it did not release as they planned, and there can be a little conspiracy talk there, right? We talked about that before the show. Maybe it was intentional. They wanted to see if they can get more clicks, more views, I should say, from AMC proper, or who knows? But anyway, it's out now. So this is for The Walking Dead Mothership proper, season 11, episode 19 variant. If you haven't watched already, as I mentioned, it's on AMC Plus right now. You can go and watch it and then come back. If you don't care, then you keep listening, because we are going to discuss this episode, break it down, and just give our thoughts to see where this is going, because we're in a home stretch, people. There's only a handful of episodes left, and then we're done with this. So, real quick housekeeping. Thanks again, everybody, for the follows over on iTunes and on Spotify. That's I Am Negan on both platforms, and of course on the Koalition on YouTube. We've been getting a lot of hits on that, and rightfully so. It's The Walking Dead. It's the last season, at least for this one, and it's a big deal, because if they don't stick this landing, it's always hard for shows to stick the landing, right? That's always the thing. Dude, can a show that's been going this long stick the landing? And for some it will, and for others it won't. But the ones that that feel that it didn't stick the landing are not going to stick around for these fucking 18 spinoffs that they have coming. I mean, it's a ridiculous number. I feel like every week we hear about another character who's getting it. It reminds me of my kids watch this Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and that's one with Robin and all of them. And it's funny because Ezekiel plays Cyborg on there. He does the voice work. But anyway, they're at the movie theaters, and everyone's getting a movie. And except Robin, and he's like, "Oh no, wait!" They sing "This Summer Coming," Batman. Then it was like Batmobile, the movie. Then Batbelt, the movie. Alfred, the movie. Everybody else, and that's what I feel with this. We're hearing of all these spinoffs for all these characters, so I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a few more. It's like, you get a show. Everybody gets a show. So who dies in this final season? Nobody you care about. It's like, oh, thanks a lot. All right, so just wanted to get that out the way, that little housekeeping. Thanks again, everybody. All right, and if you have any comments, go ahead, jump. You can post them over on iTunes has a comment section also, and YouTube. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, boop. Oh man, I'll let you start off, Rich, because you were hyped for this one. You were telling, I can't wait to talk. I got some words. I got something to say. So go ahead. What is it that you have to say about this one?
Okay, well, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say this felt like a filler episode to me. It feels as though the story dragged on in certain areas. And obviously certain characters are not dead because they want to hold that off until a later time. But with that said, it did progress what happened in the previous episode. And we did see at the end of this episode that Eugene is, he decided to be the one to make the sacrifice, so to speak. But we'll get into all that. But my initial first reaction after watching this episode, I felt it dragged in a lot of areas. And then there are some things that I don't really quite understand. Like, why is it now, as we are getting to the end of the show, all of a sudden now, there are walkers that can turn knobs and climb walls? I thought that was pretty silly. But I understand that's for the spinoff. So
Well, that
Yeah.
and it kind of sucks because you feel for someone who doesn't know, if let's say they didn't know, oh wow, this is something that's being introduced because they're gonna have a spin-off that's all about that. That's the Negan and Maggie one. They already said that they were gonna have variants of the walkers that could run and do all this stuff. So let's say you don't know that. You're just Walking Dead fan watching on Sundays, you tune in and you see this, you're gonna be like, why are you doing this now? When
Exactly.
the show is ending. Why are you waiting to the last few episodes to introduce something that could have done like a 180 for this show halfway through? Think about it. If they started this around the decline, people would like to say decline around season 7, 8. If they would have thrown this in, that changes everything. And I get it. They didn't want to do that because they were still sticking with the comic and how things were going in the comic. But man, this would have been a big game changer. And so for those fans, I'm sure that when they see this episode, if they haven't watched on AMC Plus and they wait for when it airs on AMC, they're going to be up in arms. They're going to be flipping out because I'm like, oh, God, this is crazy. This is breaking news. This could change all kinds of things. And now you show us this?
Yeah. And let me just add that I will say that I do like the idea of the walkers evolving, but the whole point of this show is that a lot of the people that fall into this, they end up doing things they never thought they would do. They have to evolve in order to survive. So it would have made sense for the walkers to also evolve as the characters have to evolve themselves to make it more of a challenge. But yeah, I understand this is the point to sell the other shows, but yeah, I think it's ridiculous that they didn't put enough thought into the evolution of the walkers to start this earlier in the show as opposed to the end of the show.
Yeah, and then not even that. Not only do they wait till the tail end of the entire series to bring this up, but they do the same for even the episode that's called Variant. It's like you're calling it Variant. I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. This is going to really go into it. We saw the trailer, the teaser trailer for this episode. Aaron saying, oh, I heard about this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, you wait till the last few minutes of this episode to show that. Why? Let this build up. Let's find out. Let's introduce it to some of the other characters. If something crazy happens, no, we didn't get that. It's right at the end that they show this, and it's like with that title, with what we saw in the teaser, we were expecting more. Right? We were expecting to see more, especially when they showed the Horde. I'm expecting to see just some of, just maybe not all of them, because Variant, it just means a few. Just seeing some run through the crowd would have been awesome. And then it would have been even better if they go to kill one. It was like, oh, we got one of the Whisperers. I didn't know they was still around. And then they were like, wait a minute. And they try to peel off the face, and then it's like, oh no, that's a Walker. Because that's one thing that when it happened. At the end, I know we're jumping people like, oh, but there's a lot of stuff, and we'll get to it. We're just talking about
I gotta interject. I'm sorry.
Do it.
Are we sure that Aaron's name is not Hannibal? Because he peeled that face with a quickness. I don't know. The dude he's been ripping off faces. It looks like he's ripping off faces since he's a teen. By the way, I do want to bring a serious commentary towards this. I don't have as much issues with the whole variant thing. I understand why they're doing it, but I understand your concerns with it, and it's being brought up and kind of shoot in at the very end of the whole series because it looks like it might not even be taken that seriously within this portion of The Walking Dead, but maybe on the spin-off portion of The Walking Dead. But what I do want to mention is my thoughts overall of this episode are kind of mixed. Mainly because the crux of this episode is the outcome, and the whole reason why it exists is the outcome of my main issue with the previous episode, which was the logistics of Max and Eugene. They set up this giant genius plan to get the Miltons to let the people know what they think and sabotage them. But somehow their getaway plan, they didn't really think about that.
There was no getaway plan.
And that was my biggest.
Remember, Max said she had no plans of ever leaving. So it's like, well, then you were sacrificing yourself.
Yeah, there was no way she was ever going to not get criticized or arrested or in question, or Milton's never going to forgive her. I don't care if Eugene is the scapegoat or whatever. The governor is not going to treat Max the same. And I would fear for her life if I was her or if I was Mercer. Mercer, we we've had text messages going around. We've Mercer hasn't been a good few episodes for Mr. Mercer here. But yeah, that's my biggest issue is that the reason why this episode exists is sort of my biggest criteria of what happened in the previous episode. And yeah,
Mercer's drinking the Kool-Aid too long in this final season. We were expecting him to wake up, especially after everything he saw with Sebastian and with Hornsby and all the stuff then with the soldiers, and it's still not enough. And it's horrible. It's just horrible to see this character was not portrayed this way in the comic, and to have him still in this limbo land. It was like, well, telling his sister to just take the plea. It's like, no, we have to stay here. This is it. Just take it. It's just say it was all him, which is Eugene, and she's not going to do it. But I'm like, what are you doing? You've seen all the chaos going on. You see all this, and you know it firsthand, and you're still backing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could be a combination of things. It's not so much that he's a soldier. He always says that he's a soldier. He's not so much of a leader type soldier. So he's not the type of like, all right, I'm going to take my soldiers and we're going to run this show. We obviously the Miss Milton, Governor Milton doesn't know what's going on here. So we're just going to take over. He's not playing that role. And we don't have a Rick or someone, or even Maggie in that strong role of someone else who can run this. That's not a thing right now. So maybe that's why it's being put in this way, but because he feels there is no one else to take Milton's place. So why overthrow? Because Max is like, we got to fix this. And he's like, no, I mean, fix what? This is how it is.
Well, I agree. And you know how they're going to resolve this issue is that he's not going to make a stand until something happens to Max. It kind of feels as though they are delaying this entire process because now you have Eugene as the one to take the blame for all of this stuff. But as a viewer, I want to see Max pay as well. So
it was a bunch of holes with all that too. And as you said, like this episode, was it a filler? I feel like it was spending a lot of time setting things up. We saw that in the previous episodes. A lot of setups, right? We got the groups. We have everything going. We have Rosita talking with Eugene, who's now hiding out at the church. Here it is. Mercer, clearly it's a good thing that he's not an investigator because let me see. One of his buddies is a priest at the local church. Has anyone checked the church? Is trying to find there, interrogating. Remember, Rosita was like, where's he hiding out? Where'd you put your friend? Like, I don't know where he is. She clearly does. Follow her. Tail her. Come on now. There's only so many places. And it's not like he's hiding in a basement. He's right there in like pew 3, sitting down, hanging out with, our boy Daryl. And even then, Daryl's was like, all right, we're going to get all our people and we're leaving. And then that's pretty much what this episode was about. It's like wrangling up, talking to various characters. Of course, we know it's where Ezekiel stands. He has no plans of going, of leaving the Commonwealth. He wants to stick around. Max also doesn't want to leave. You see, at one point, they tried to get her to leave, and the soldiers grab her. And it's like, okay, well, they can find Max, but you can't search the church. That doesn't make any sense. And so it was.
There must be a separation of church and state.
Oh, with this fiction, because as we know in real life, that never applies. But it's just whatever. They could have done a better job with hiding Eugene to really make it seem like Mercer was searching for him, because I didn't get that impression. He was interrogating and asking people where's Eugene, but I don't think he was really searching for him, because the church would have been the first place to go. Right?
Well, considering that Father Gabriel, one of the Commonwealth allies, was a prominent figure, the actual priest of the church. Yeah, it seemed kind of fishy. Why the church seemed like a place that they could just hide. I didn't understand that part. Also,
Didn't understand that. And then, all right, so when we see with Milton at the beginning of this episode, she's all upset. She's looking at her son, who is now dead, Sebastian, and she's upset. And then we get to a point where, of course, we know he's going to turn, and she accepts it. But she wants payback, and she starts talking to Mercer about, oh, we did so much for Max, and she lost her way, and all this stuff. And I think I know
10
what
years.
you were.
10 years. She said
Yeah,
10 years
yeah,
she's been
10
with her.
10 years, 10 years, decade there. So the question is, what you were talking about, Rich, is that, oh, it's going to take something to happen to her for Mercer to really change. And I agree with that to a point. I don't think it'll be by Milton's hand, because she's not going to hurt Maxie. And this is why she offered the pardon, because of Mercer. She relies on him so heavily for protection and for control of the other soldiers that if something happens to him, she has nobody. She has nobody. She needs him. So I don't see anything happening to Max, at least not by her hand. Maybe by accident, a walker or something like that. Or go ahead.
This is where Hornsby comes into play, because obviously when he gets out of jail, I'm pretty sure he's going to want some revenge, because she made it clear that she was not going to. She disowned him. So
I still don't understand that scene. That scene where she visits Hornsby while he's in the cell, knowing, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I put this in motion for the walkers to enter, but I didn't expect that to happen. That he was going to die. I loved him. I took care of him. He was your son. Blah 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 blah. Kissing ass, kissing ass." And I'm like, okay, she's gonna just nod her head, but she's gonna kill him. And then when she brought in Sebastian as a walker, I'm like, oh, this is it. He's gonna die. He's gonna get neat. And that wasn't the case. She gave him a weapon and was like, here, finish it. What was that?
Yeah, that is. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say that once again, delaying the inevitable thing happening. And of course, I guess they want fans to be satisfied that Daryl or whoever else finally takes out Hornsby when everything is said and done.
Yeah, he's gonna get his comeuppance. He's gonna get a gruesome death. But it just doesn't make sense of this. We thought that those people, which we haven't seen, I didn't see them in this episode, the two henchmen that he has working for him that set this in motion, I thought they were gonna break him out. And that was it, right? That through the chaos.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
In the last episode.
Cause the chaos in this one, right? Exactly. Cause the chaos, so that way, while they're running around trying to control the situation, the henchmen come in and break Hornsby out, and then he comes up with a plan to then fight. To take control of the whole thing. Say, look, Governor Milton is corrupt. You heard everything that Sebastian just said. These people are horrible. I'm gonna take over. And then there's a battle going on there. Now you got two enemies right here. You got Milton and you have Hornsby, both at the same time probably dividing up the military. And then at the same time, you got Daryl and the group, and they're like, hey, do we stay? Do we go? And we already know Judas wants to stay to fix things, but Daryl's like, this isn't our fight, that type of thing. You see, but the thing is, I'm filling in story plots that's not even in the show, because that's not what we had. That's all we got. We didn't get any of that. Now we just have that Hornsby now works with Milton. For some reason, she's like, forgive and forget. That's fine. Just handle it. Now, you said you're my loyal subject and you're going to go and do whatever I need done. So fix things. How? How does that make any sense? With all the stuff that he's done and what Mercer knows that he's done, Mercer's not going to follow him. It doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. That whole part there just upset me, because I didn't like it. I was like, no, this is poor writing. I'm not going with this. No
I don't understand the motivation with Milton. I don't know.
She doesn't need him. That's what I'm saying. She doesn't need him.
She essentially said, well, somehow she found out that it was his clan that was that let the janitors get bitten and turn into walkers and wreak havoc. So she found that out. I don't know how, but she did.
He told
her. Anyways,
right when she walked in, he was like, I'm sorry. It was me. He said, I wasn't expecting that. But still, he let walkers into her community and cause havoc, and then she lets him out, or she's going to let him out to go do. I mean,
Yeah, but and then yeah, like you guys mentioned, he it looked like he was going to give him a second chance because I guess she needs allies, but then he left him for dead, but not really because he let him face two weak walkers with the freaking hatchet or
yeah,
whatever that was.
yeah, it was like,
Like,
yeah, he had a weapon. So, but I mean, if he dies, that would be kind
no,
of funny.
well,
But then that'd be pointless because then why did you lead up this way? Come
well,
on.
the reason why they're doing this, and and you guys can think differently, but I think the reason why they did this is so Hornsby can now have an excuse to go with the good guys, and
Yeah.
and Milton is just going to be the big bad.
No
That's
one's
just
going to
how it's
trust
gonna
him
be.
with all the chaos that he put up. Because
Well,
remember, here's the other thing, and they did this in like a quick little montage. They just rounded up everybody from Hilltop, from Alexandria, from Oceanside, everybody that knew Eugene and everyone else. They just gathered them up from those communities and brought them over to the Commonwealth. Which also made no sense because Eugene is in the Commonwealth. Why are you grabbing all these other people? It's just for a reason to have them all in the community for the final battle.
yeah, but
Yeah.
no, I agree with that. I also will say to what you said, Carlos. Though you make a valid point because I believe the trailer showed Hornsby was broken out and he was with Carol, so that's
Oh,
exactly what the direction is that they want to do. But it doesn't make sense because again, the conflict. You think Daryl's going to be happy to see Hornsby out, and now they need to
mm,
work with him? I don't think that's going
And
to
unless
work.
the only thing I can see with that is it's the swerve. Because
Yeah.
remember, Carol was she knows Hornsby is a piece of crap, but she was doing what she could so that way she can get Ezekiel the treatment. That's what it was all about, getting the treatment. Well, he got the treatment. Now he's all better. So she's going to maybe continue playing up that role. Because remember, she said she's doing all this for leverage. That whole thing of even going over to Milton with the documentation and doing the whole thing and bringing Sebastian, it's all about leverage. And she said, I work for him. Still playing that card. She's a spy. And at some point, and maybe this could be it, it's like, all right, I'm going to help you get out. Okay, good. Hornsby selling. Thanks. Let's go. And then take them to the church because no one searches the church. Take them to the church, and then Daryl and everybody can just put him down. There you go. That's it. But it's just there's too much with some of that. But yeah, a lot of this back and forth. They had some comical moments in this episode. That scene with Eugene where he looked like he was going to fight Daryl. Come on now. Putting up his hands like, you have to let me out. I have to fight my own battles. And he's like, if you're not going to move, step aside then. And he puts up his dukes. Come on. Whatever. That scene went too long. But there was one scene in particular that I was definitely not necessary. Not necessary. And it's rare on TV that they do full repeats of key dialogues, long dialogues. And it has to go when we see the return of Princess with a new hairstyle. And she's there talking to Mercer. And she's leaving. She's going to leave. She's like, I'm going with my people. Listen, he's like, I need you to stay. Why don't you stay? No. She's like, and just talking about, things are crazy out there. This is Mercer. It's like, look, things aren't that. It could be worse. And she does the whole speech about the stepfather, the brother, the closet, all that stuff that they put her through. And that's the same speech that we got last season. Right? When she showed up with Ezekiel and Yumiko, and they were in that holding area, and she started spilling out the whole story of her backstory right there. So, and this was the whole thing. It was like 10 minutes. It felt like it was long. She went through the whole thing. And I'm like, we already know this. We already know this. I think the only part we didn't know is about her peeing on herself, but everything else about how bad they were and how she was a wild child and this and that, and we knew that. And the whole point of her telling him all this is so that she could say that they always tried to put her in a certain place and say things could be worse. Things could be worse, blah, blah, blah. And I get that, but it wasn't needed for us, the viewers who already sat through this. So
I agree. It wasn't needed, and it had absolutely no impact on what Mercer did because he was still. I mean, my guess is it was told to that he's supposed to revolt against what's happening, but it absolutely changed nothing because he still is going along with the plan to.
Yeah, but she kept saying, she was like, yeah, I came across a lot of bad guys. I'm not saying you're a bad guy. You're not a bad guy. But, this and that. And, yeah, that was too much for me. and it's clear that he's doing too much time talking and less time searching because, again, everybody's hanging out now at the church. We see more and more people gathering at this church. And he knows that they're leaving. That's the other thing. I mean, she's leaving. Go follow Princess. She even said, she's like, I'm not giving up, the whole thing with Eugene. She was like, that's my family now. So just like you care about your family and Max, you're going to, because he was like, oh, just tell me where he is. Oh, for what? He accepted me. He was there for me. And now I'm just going to give him up. No, that makes no sense, especially when it wasn't his plan. And where's Connie? Where's Connie in all of this? The person who wrote the original article that posted this and set the whole fire ablaze here. What happened? Did she get hurt in that riot during the crowd and with the walkers?
Wait, are you really asking this question right now?
Yes.
She survived a freaking tunnel blow up, whatever that thing is. Tunnel. She survived. She's definitely going to survive these weak ass riots.
Well, then she's doing a good job hiding because not only is she hiding from us, but she's hiding from other cast members of the show because not a single person asked about her. Not a single person said when they were like, oh, we have to gather up our people to go back. They went after everybody else, but they didn't go to her.
Oh, she was too busy filming the Eternals.
She's doing something. She was off camera for these important scenes because not once, at least mention her. Like, all right, well, you talk to Connie. Yeah, all right, she's going to meet us at the gate. All right, good. That's it. Filler. No one mentions her. They're gathering everybody up. You got Yumiko talking to her, her, I guess you would say her ex-girlfriend, the one that's there. And still, no Connie. No Connie with this.
I just want to interrupt and say that I'm proud of you, Adam.
You're welcome.
This is the first time in forever that you pronounced the name correctly. I did not need assistance.
It only took 15 years.
And going into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you. So what did we? And then at the end of this whole part, for what happens with the Commonwealth, we'll get into the Aaron and all that stuff. But he eventually, Eugene does leave, and he gives himself up and says that he did everything by himself. And he walked into the precinct, and it was funny. He was like, "Get on the ground!" Like he's like, "All right, you're going too far now." Now it wasn't like this was an active shooter or something who then with no weapons. He turned on a recording, an audio recording that your captain's sister made, and everybody knows it. I mean, Sebastian, when he was running in the street, was saying it. He said, he was like, she recorded me. He didn't say Eugene. He said Max. He was running after Max. Everyone saw it. I still don't understand the whole point of them focusing so much on Eugene for it when all he did was press play.
Well, they want you. I guess they want you as a viewer to feel bad for Eugene, and wish that he gets out of this situation. But I have to honestly say, somebody has to pay. This is the last couple of episodes. There needs to be some characters that get killed. So I wouldn't feel bad if Eugene got killed. I would say, however, though, he did take an L to do all that, and you still don't have a happy ending with Max. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, who knows? Romeo Juliet type of thing might happen. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. But he says he's gonna take responsibility for all of that, and they're like, "All right, bring him in. This is it." Now the ball is in Mercer's court. Is he going to let this innocent man pretty much hang for what his sister did? Because it was all his sister that put this in motion. I don't know. We'll have to see. Especially, I'm assuming for the show that he's not. Especially after that whole long speech that he had with Princess and her reasoning for doing everything and wanting to go back. And he needs to wake up, smell the coffee, because this is dragging on too long with everything that he's been through and he's seen, that he's still drinking this Milton Kool-Aid. Just that it doesn't add up. So there goes that for the Commonwealth stuff. And then now we're with Lydia, Aaron, Jerry, and what's it? Oh, Snake Eyes. We called him Snake Eyes before. I forgot.
It's the dude that should have kept on the mask because he looked badass.
Exactly. That's why I called him Snake Eyes. Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Elijah. There you go. Yep. Elijah. So they hinted before that Elijah and Lydia have something going on, but it must be very early on, because in one scene they're doing some work together. He leans in to give her, I guess, that first kiss, and she's like, "Nope, I gotta go do something." Aaron sees this. He gets his little moment with Lydia alone. So talking about when he was married early on. Remember, we saw that his spouse died. And he's just talking about that relationship could have started a lot sooner if he didn't always say no and kept putting it off. And then when I think his name was, oh man, I'm blanking on all these older names. But that dude, the husband who had passed, he said that the time, the 4 years that he had with them were the best, and they could have been longer if he would have just accepted it before, because there was no reason why, because the guy kept asking him out and he just said no. Basically saying the same thing here. It's like, hey, if you like, I want to call him Snake Eyes. I just like the name Snake Eyes. In my notes, I always have him listing it. If you like him, go for it. Don't wait. And he could have just switched it off and just said, hey, options are limited right now. Lifespan is even shorter now. Just take it while you can. That's it. You like him? Yeah. All right, go for it. Don't waste time. That's it. Yeah, I get it. The whole backstory and they, like you mentioned before, Rick, Rich, I was at Rich when we were talking about how this episode and even the previous ones are doing a lot of callbacks to previous seasons with characters and flashbacks stuff, and then this right here, it's another one callback with his husband that died and all that stuff that was going on. Just bringing back the memories. It's like, all right, so when are we going to talk about Jesus? Because Jesus was a big part of that too. No one's talking about Jesus. So we get that. And then Jerry starts talking about how he's going to make some special meal for them. They find some little area to shack up, because there was it was a bunch of walkers up ahead, right? Like a horde or something that was blocking the road.
Yep.
And so they were like, all right, we're going to go and hide out in this other place. It's got walls. That was their main thing. It's got walls. Now, once they showed that scene with the walls, just showing the structure, I mean, it just matched up in my head from the teaser, right? Because that's what he was talking about when the variants show up. And so I was like, all right, this is it. This is when it's going to happen. And and so also in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is when Jerry dies. Because Jerry was being too nice about everything. Right? He's the jolly one. He's like, all right, we're going to just stay here for the night. I'm going to cook a good meal. Things are going to be great. I mean, nothing could bother this guy. And sure enough, we see this. They're around a campfire, and they're hearing all these sounds. Now, it was a storm also happening, right? I think it was a storm or a windstorm or something, because things were rattling, and they were saying it was like the wind or whatever. But then you hear like real creaking and then walking and noises, like there was people around. And everyone's like, yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it is more than something. And sure enough, we see all these walkers, and then poof, surprise, we see one climbing over. And I'm sure for those who was not paying attention with any of this, and maybe not even the title of the episode, they're like, oh, we got some whispers. But nope, here it is. There's our variant. We saw one climb over. We saw one turn a doorknob. They get into a fight with them. Go ahead.
I want to ask you both a question. I don't want to interrupt you, Adam, but I want to ask you a question. I'll ask this question to the listeners as well. When did Jerry become such a badass? Because they had that scene where he just was slicing and dicing the walkers.
He got that moment right now, Rich. What are you talking about? Like this
is Rich. I saw that. I'm like, Jerry became a freaking Jedi. And I'm like, what happened? And then I knew, I'm like, we've been seeing death flags in forever. And I'm like, okay, so this is, he's getting his moment, his badass moment before he dies.
Yep.
and he didn't die. So
Yeah,
he,
that's what I thought.
he hurt his leg. He's talking about his famous cooking.
Mhm.
He's been away from his wife and his kids for God
Oh,
knows
yeah,
how long.
that was a red herring. I forgot about that.
His
When
kingdom.
the truck got the wagon got stuck, and then they rolled in and it rolled over his foot. So now, yeah, he's injured. So yeah, there was that red herring. Oh, he's hurt. Now they're getting attacked. He's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but now we
Oh.
can fill in. Remember, there was like 6-year gap a while ago before with Michonne. Maybe she showed him how to use the katana. That's it.
It's possible.
Yeah. Maybe they'll bring it up. Maybe someone else will be like, man, maybe Aaron will say, it's like, man, when did you become such a badass? Well, you never bring me on any of these missions. I've always been just hanging out at the base. Now look what I could do. I could also do a backflip. What? No, not really, but it would have been fun. But anyway, he got his moment. He got his moment. So that's cool. No one died.
I do want to ask a question though that I don't remember what happened. I think they were mentioned during that episode, but I don't recall. But and this is kind of off topic from Jerry and them. What happened to the kids? Because I was thinking about Jerry. He escorted the kids away from the meanies, and I don't know what happened to the kids. Judith and Rick Jr.
Yeah. And Junior and the other his little girl, Aaron's little girl. Yeah, Grace. I think Gracie. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, they hid him away. They were hidden inside the building there. So
yeah, from the previous episode.
Yeah, they didn't want. This wasn't about them. This was about these people, the adults here, coming across. And then I thought maybe that Snake Eyes was going to get it. I was like, oh, here it is. Lydia finds love and this whole thing, and it doesn't happen. But the next day, they're like, oh, back on the road. We got to head off. And he's grabbing some supplies. It's a Snake Eyes, Isaiah, and she just walks up. Lydia's like, hold on. She walks up and she gives him a kiss. She's like, all right, there we go. Got to get it done. Yeah, because, I mean, you all almost died last night. So why not?
Well, let me just, I have a bit of a nitpick, though, in regards to the scene right before that. Because you see that they're on top of that area. They climb the top, and then they're like, well, maybe we should just jump over. And they are literally surrounded by walkers, below. So then the next scene, it's daytime. The walkers, you see a whole bunch of dead walkers. So we to assume that they killed them during the commercial break, and then they found a way to just survive through the night.
The walkers died.
Confused about that.
The walkers died of boredom. They couldn't reach the humans. And they were like, what do? We re-die. And then they lay down, and maybe they weren't dead. They're just the dormant ones. It's just the slumbers.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. This is one of those things right here. It's a few moments. We saw a lot of this type of editing and work done for fear. Remember? And that was our complaints. A lot of things happening off camera. And I'm sure they filmed it. I'm sure if we would have talked to someone that's behind, it seems like, oh, we spent like an hour of filming all the stuff, maybe 2 hours, maybe a full day of all kinds of stuff. But due to time constraints for the episode and how many they had, they're like, oh, cut. Wait for the DVD set, wait for the Blu-ray. You'll see the extended scenes of all these episodes. Maybe they'll do something like that. But and then that was it. And that's the part that upsets me, that the title of this episode is Variant. They teased the variant. We heard Aaron talk about the variant, and we get maybe a minute of variant. And I was hoping we'd get more. I was hoping that maybe they would close off showing the same type of variants going into the Commonwealth. Because I just see something like that. Like, it would have been really cool, like a cool, creepy scene of just a door opening, and then you just see like a decrepit hand holding it, and then that's it. Because then it's like, oh, who is that? Well, it could be any one of the Commonwealth citizens that died. Because that's the other thing. What do you do? Who's cleaning them up? There was a bunch that got bit. Well, where are they? Where are they all being stacked? Were they being thrown outside? I don't know. They didn't show that. They don't talk about it either. Oh, man. I don't know. This is a tricky episode. This was it. Because I expected so much. And I think most viewers would agree that they're expecting each episode to be a banger because this is it. This is the end game.
How many episodes are left?
What is it?
What is it, like 5? Is it like I think it's 5?
Yeah, there's 5. There's 8 altogether. So yeah, there's 5 left.
Yeah, so this is definitely it.
This is definitely it, and that's what I'm saying. It's like just let it all rip. Just
are we gonna have a part 3 mid-season finale next episode, or how does that work?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
I
do believe that the CRM are going to all of a sudden show up again. So that's
something happened. Civil Republic, something has to happen with that because that has to explain Rick, the return of Rick, and of course Michonne, because I think that's how they're portraying is that Michonne did find Rick, and they'll show up together. I don't think they're gonna just randomly both show up at the same time. I've been looking for you this whole time. What? Me too. Oh, I don't think that's gonna happen. Oh man, I wanted to say that this was a great episode, but it's not. I was really hyped for this episode. We were really hyped. So we were like, can't wait. Well, we waited, we saw it, and this is it. You got 5 episodes. These people have 5 episodes to really get things going, and it doesn't so much have to be deaths of the main characters, because we already know a large majority of them have their own spin-offs. They will not be dying. No, Daryl's not dying. Carol's not dying. Because they have plans for Carol. I don't, unless this is another red herring, and she says, "You know what? I'm not going to do anything else with Walking Dead. Go ahead, kill me off," because she's not doing the spinoff with Daryl. We know Negan, Maggie, they got their show. We know Michonne and Rick have their thing. So Ezekiel is still up in the air when it comes to something tragic happening. Aaron. Again, we don't want people just dying for the sake of, oh, wow, look, the shock factor. If someone dies, it has to be someone that is going to be impactful, that the viewer that has an emotional connection with is going to accept and be like, oh, wow, that was the whole thing with Glenn, and why so many viewers got up in arms and walked away because they couldn't believe that a beloved character was killed off that way. So if we were to say, all right, let's see if they wanted to pull another Glenn type situation here, who would that character be for you, Carlos? And then I'll ask you, Rick. Think about it. If they could pull that off now, if they were trying to get that emotion, who do you think can die right now that would cause that?
Well, that would cause that, and they would have because this is 2 different questions. Like, there's people that would cause that reaction, but then I don't think it'll be conceivable of AMC to ever have the gusto to ever attempt such a thing. And for me, it's Daryl. Daryl kill Daryl, and man, I might shed a tear or a tear and a half.
Okay, all right. Yours is Daryl. All right, what about you, Rich?
That's a tough question. A character to have an emotional impact.
A character that would have that impact. Now we got 5 episodes left. Yeah, certain characters can die. Some are going to die. But which one do you think? Like, man, if this one dies, the world of TV land is just going to be up in arms. It's going to spread like crazy through all the TV show sites, social media. It's going to be like, wow, can you believe they just did this? Because that's what happened with Glenn. When Glenn died, it was just like, stop everything. Why did they do this? Well, he was a beloved character.
Well, I think to steal Carlos's thunder from a previous episode, it probably has to be Aaron, right? Because a lot of people like the Aaron character. I also agree that Daryl would be very interesting, but they obviously will not do that. But Carol could have also been another one, but I really, the Carol character has been up and down throughout the show with certain decisions that she's made. So I don't really care too much about what happens to her. But I think it's probably Aaron.
You think it would be Aaron?
It would be Aaron. Now, I would say Rick, but Rick is not on the show. And it would be kind of funny for them to bring him back just to kill him at the end of the show. That would be ridiculous. But
right, that's not gonna... I'll give mine. Judith. I think
Whoa.
if they and it's not too far fetched because in the comic she wasn't even born. She got eaten while still in the womb, so that didn't even happen.
Let's
And then,
let's settle down here. We're not. I'm
but,
not. If something happens to Judith, I might go to AMC
and we've already no, and they've gone there before because remember Carol's daughter, and then they even brought that up again, and they showed the scene.
That was back in the day when AMC attempted things.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What is one death that everyone would be up in arms about that they could not believe they saw happen on this show?
Yeah.
And
Judith,
I think
Judith is up there.
Judith, right there. Judith and RJ. They don't even have to show it. Like what you just
RJ,
said.
RJ, I don't think anyone cares about RJ.
But man, what if whole big chaos is going on? They thought they put the kids in a safe space. You go over to find them, and they're already all turned. That's it. That's it. But you don't have to get gruesome and show it and the whole thing. It just happened.
There's a list of characters. There's Judith. There's Daryl. There is obviously
Herschel.
Rick and Michonne.
That's the other one. Herschel Jr.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, hold on. Where is he at? He hasn't been. They haven't shown him yet.
He's at one of the camps.
He's with the Negan people.
Yeah, with Negan people. They said it. They said, "Oh no, don't worry, we got him." Because remember that was during the last part when Negan had that one-on-one talk with him. Remember, he was like, "If you want to kill me, you can kill me now." That whole thing.
I have to interject. This is might be far-fetched for some people, but obviously the name of the show is called I Am Negan. There's no Negan in this episode. What's up with that?
No. No. He's not here because he did his part.
Well, no. Him, to answer your question, Carlos, him and Maggie are filming the spinoff. They were filming this week. So that's why they was not on the show.
It's a juggle. They can't be on every episode.
That's why all the variant characters were missing from this episode. They were on the spinoff.
Exactly. It's like guys climbing over the walls. Like, what are you doing? Wrong show. All right, forget it. We already filmed it. Keep it roll. We're just gonna go with it. Oh man, but that's what I'm saying. They have to have something, and you always say, gotta have something. Gotta have something to get people talking. Because right now, no one's talking. The hype was real when it came back to like, oh, this is it. And I'm telling you, I've already seen it die out. Because like we talked about before, AMC has spilled the beans. We already know so many of these main characters already have other Walking Dead projects. So then there's no real drama left. It's like, all right, so who what? Oh, they're gonna kill off some of the leftovers. Eugene, whatever. Ezekiel, Aaron, whatever. You could have some kind of connection. Jerry, come on now, he's a background guy. He's always been the background. Think about we're in season 11 and we're amazed that he could use a weapon. It's like.
Exactly. Well, let me just say real quick. I think you make a very good point about Judith, because that will be a sign that there is no hope for the future, and she is literally the embodiment of Rick on the show now, down to the hat and the gun, which she both has now. So I could definitely see something happening to her, and I know people will be up in arms about that for sure.
And I can't believe I even forgot, because even after Glenn, the other big shakeup was when Carl died.
Yep.
Because that was huge, because in the comics, Carl makes it all the way to the end. And so a lot of people are like, oh, why bring up the comic? Well, it's not us. The show's doing it. The show was fine. They could have went in a completely different direction. They threw in some variants and some wild cards, which is Daryl. Daryl is not in the comic. He's a wild card. But eventually he started playing the role of Dwight. And Dwight was the second in command for doing a lot of things with Rick. And that's now Daryl's role, the soldier. Mm-hmm. So,
well, let's, the thing with Carl, I don't think is important to mention in terms of story terms, because the only reason why Carl was killed off was because he wanted a 5% raise. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
You can't ask for money, man. Can't ask for money. That was a smack in the face. I could not believe that.
So did he want the raise or did his parents want the
Oh,
raise?
I mean, we don't know the logistics. We know something had to do with his dad. His dad, I think, was his agent at the time or something, but he was the one that was really promoting, trying to get his son
Tiger Dad.
He was doing something like that. And then they were like, pretty much, no, well, we don't need him then. And then they scrapped which was really upsetting and shocking. And even the character, I think his name is Chandler or something like that.
Chandler Riggs.
Chandler Riggs. Yeah, he was shocked because he also had read the comics, and maybe that was the downfall. Maybe his dad read it and said, "Oh, look, you make it all the way through. Oh, you're going to be a big part of this. You need a raise." And I don't know how much all these actors are being. We know some of the bigger names are getting more than others. That's the way it is on every show.
Yeah,
but he does a major part in it, and I guess they just wanted to prove that it doesn't matter, because even when after he died, his role, all of his lines and things that happened to him got passed along to, what was it? I forgot his name, Henry.
Henry.
Henry started playing them. And I'm like, that's another smack in the face. And then they killed him. Yeah, just it's like,
and also to piggyback off of that, even the character that Carl saved, Sadiq, even he died later in the show.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter. So everybody didn't make it.
And then some characters they built up, and we knew they were great in the comic, and we were excited to hear that they were going to be part of the show, and they did nothing with them in the show, and that was Jesus. Jesus was amazing in the comic. Even in the video game, he was amazing. And then they put him in the show, and his one big highlight was from his debut when he was doing all the parkour and stuff like that. When they showed after that, there was really nothing. It's like they didn't know what to do with him. And then next, he's killed off. He's gone.
Man, I miss Jesus because Jesus looked really cool.
Yeah, he was cool. He had cool abilities. He was different than everybody else because he had the parkour aspect of it, and he was good at spying and just witty and great at gathering information and doing a lot of spy stuff. He was great into sneaking in and sneaking out. It was a mess. They dropped the ball with Jesus. Jesus should have still been relevant in all of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. All right, people. So there it is. We broke it down. We talked about it. We're not thrilled. There are still 5 more episodes. We have to hope for the best. Right? Are we all excited? Yay! Everybody go, yay! Because after this, then we got Fear that comes back, and we still don't know what's going on with that. And the one other thing with all of this is, yes, we know a lot of the characters have spin-offs, but then what about the ones that don't have spin-offs? Do they pop up on some of the other shows? Not so much about them, but I'm meaning like Fear, for example. Like, do some of them just join that cast, or are they just gone? I'm assuming Carol is going to be a part of something there, because her whole thing, for those who don't know, yes, she was going to be part of that Carol and Daryl spinoff that's taking place in France, but she didn't want to travel. She didn't want to move. And so she passed on the project. But that doesn't mean that she can't work on other projects. And Fear is still being filmed in the States. So she could easily, when all things fall apart here, say, you know what, I'm going to go do my own thing, sort of like Morgan did, and then poof, pop up somewhere over there. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a romantic comedy with Ezekiel and Carol.
Oh, yes. So you think Ezekiel's going to make it? I don't think he's going to make it. I don't.
Ezekiel does have death flags for sure.
Oh yeah. He's nice. He's lovable. He's peaceful. He just survived cancer, the whole thing. Yeah, there's too many ups going from right now, and no, that's not how this show works. You can't have too many wins. You got to take a loss.
Well, there's sort of different sides of the characters who are going to die. Like when I think of Ezekiel, I think of Jerry, and I think one of those is going to die. When I think of Mercer, I think of Max. One of those is going to die.
Yep.
When I think of who else?
People said that with Carol and Daryl, like when they were always running around together. Well, one's going to die, and because everyone wanted them as a couple. I don't know why. I think there's a big age difference right there, over 20-some years, but whatever. People always wanted it. And
I don't think in real life there's a big difference because
I don't know.
Daryl is older than we think.
I know he does look young, but I feel like maybe he's just a young guy from Boondock Saints, and then from Boondock Saints he did Blade Runner and then The Walking Dead, and not Blade Runner, Blade. I feel like that was it. I'm sure he did other projects, but those are the only things I remember him from. And he was always a young guy in all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he started the show, he
was young. He was a younger brother from Merle. So we will see, people. So we will be back for next week for episode 20. Come on out, 20. This got to be a big one.
4 years difference between Melissa McBride and Norman Reedus. So they're essentially the same age.
I take that back because it definitely looks like there was a bigger difference. It definitely does look like there was a bigger difference. But hey, and she was a wild card. That was another one. The way that they wrote her, and she even said it. She said they told me that I was just going to do this one season 1, and then that was it, done. And next, poof, change the plans. Now look at her.
By the way, I do want to mention there isn't enough Carol in this show. I feel like she's a character that I feel.
Well, she played the major part. She's playing the whole.
She does make major part. Does have major parts, but I feel like she doesn't have as many parts as she deserves because she's been a character. Think about it. She's been here the same time as Daryl. They're the two longest active members of the cast. Yep. So and she's a badass too. So I do want to see more of Carol throughout the show.
Well, don't worry. You'll definitely see more of her after she is the reason that Ezekiel gets killed. People will be they will be up in arms about that.
Well, I could already. Well, I don't know if anyone will care, but I could definitely see it as something's going to happen, and then Ezekiel jumps in and says, "Hey, you saved my life. Now I need to save your life."
Yep.
That situation.
Yep.
And he takes one for the team. I could see that, and for some people, they're going to be heartbroken, and for others, I'm like, he's already distanced himself from the group. Like he's part of the Commonwealth, right? You think about it. He said he's staying with them. We don't see him hanging out with the other people. He's doing, there's other things. He's got his new friends now. His only connection seems to be with Carol. Mm-hmm. We don't even see scenes with him and Princess and Yumiko anymore. That's it. It's done. He's now the guy that works at the pet zoo there. So the petting zoo. Whatever. But we will be back, people. So thanks again for following us over on iTunes and Spotify, and of course on YouTube. You can check us out over at the Koalition. That's the Koalition with a K. Got a bunch of reviews and other interviews and all kinds of stuff, cast members and other shows. So go ahead and check us out, and we will be back next week. Peace.
Deuces.